Hey guys, welcome back to Sparkman Homestead. My name is Krista. Today we have a really fun task. We are going to can some copycat A1 sauce. Steven asked me the other day, he's like, where did all of our sauces go? And I realized that I had none on my pantry shelf. So today we are going to can up a steak sauce. It is very similar to an A1 sauce. That's what I usually end up labeling it as. And then we're also going to make just a small batch, and we're not going to can it. We're just going to do a small batch of a copycat Arby sauce. Steven loves Arby's. I am not personally a fan, but I do like their sauce. So I found a recipe and I haven't made it in the past, and it is really delicious. So we are gonna make up a batch of the Arby's copycat sauce. And then I thought that there was one more thing that we needed to do today, and now I cannot remember at all what it was. I'll probably remember when we get started with the task, but really nice. This A1 sauce, you can actually can it, and it's water bath canning. So my favorite type of canning. I find water bath canning to be the easiest. So we're gonna get out the stuff we need. So to make the A1 sauce, that's what I call it, but the recipe is called a steak sauce, and I will leave that recipe linked for you guys in the video description. I think it actually did a video a while ago showing you guys how I make this steak sauce, but I honestly can't remember where it is, and I don't want to go digging through all of the videos to find which one it is. So I just thought, since I need to do it anyways because we need to have it on our pantry shelf, I would just shoot another video and show you guys. So what I'm doing down here in the pantry is I am getting some ketchup. I'm gonna grab 2 things of this ketchup because I think what I'm gonna end up doing is just doubling this recipe. When I do a canning project, I really like to kind of make it worthwhile and just kind of can a whole bunch at once. And that way it'll last me for a while and I don't have to worry about making it again. We processed a whole bunch of our roosters yesterday, and the one thing that I love to do with roosters is can them. We process our roosters when they're fairly young, so the meat's not super tough, but I still do run it through the pressure cooker just to kind of make sure that it's good and cooked. I have 2 pretty young roosters in there right now, and they're gonna cook for 2 hours. After the 2 hours, I'm gonna take them out, and then I'm gonna reserve the broth and then just do another batch. And I'm gonna keep doing that until I have all of the roosters done. And then I'm gonna can the chicken up because that chicken is so perfect for canning, and I love having canned chicken on hand. It makes for really good chicken enchiladas, which we just made that enchilada sauce last week. I'll leave that video linked for you guys in case you haven't seen it yet. So they make really good chicken enchiladas. They also really good chicken tacos, like anything that you're adding like a sauce to. Chicken Alfredo, just it's very versatile. I love using the canned chicken for that stuff. I'm just reading the recipe here to see what we need. And you know what? There's gonna be 0 prep involved with this recipe because I have honestly kind of did all of the prep just as we've been going along with the Every Bit Counts challenge. So I have my ketchup already pre-made. I have onions already pre-chopped in the freezer. We did that last week. Unfortunately, all my onions were going bad, so I just chopped them and put them in the freezer. So we have that all done. I already have all of my garlic chopped because again, I do that in advance. We need to get some Worcestershire sauce, which I found a recipe to make this. Make it this from scratch. I actually have a whole bunch in my pantry shelf, so I don't need to do that right now, but that may be a future video because we go through this a lot. I love putting it in anything to do with beef, so that would be a fun video coming up. We need to get some lemon juice out of the pantry. Now this recipe actually calls for a white vinegar, but a whole bunch of people have actually put comments on the recipe and said use a apple cider vinegar instead. So we're gonna use that because I love the flavor that apple cider vinegar gives to stuff. Oh, I need to go in here still. We need soy sauce. I'm just gonna use a liquid aminos. And then we need mustard. So I'm just gonna use a regular yellow mustard. It just says prepared mustard. Sorry about the beeping noise, that's just the pressure canner. Okay, and then we need to get some brown sugar. This recipe really does come together really quick. I remember last time I made it, it's just super quick. So what I'm gonna do, because everything really does just I sound like a broken record, come together quickly. I'm gonna get my water bath canner started. I think I'm going to can these in pint-sized jars because, again, we use a lot of it. If you wouldn't use a lot of it, I would just do maybe half pints. I have my water bath canner coming up to temperature, and I just put my pint-sized jars in there just to get them warmed up. So I have a fairly large stock pot. It is an 8-quart stock pot, and we are gonna put everything into the stock pot. To get started, we are gonna add 2 cups of ketchup. Remember, I am doubling this recipe, so I will leave the recipe linked in the video description so you guys can get the original measurements. But we're gonna use 2 cups of ketchup. This is my homemade ketchup. I just repurpose the bottles and use it because it's a squeezy bottle. Leave this out so I can refill it. And then we need half a cup of chopped onions. This is just some frozen onions that I did last week. So we're just gonna use half a cup. It's just a mix of like red onions, yellow onions, and white onions. And it kind of froze in a block. Put that in. It says 1 piece of garlic clove, so I'm gonna add, these are just my little cubes that I do when I pre-mince my garlic. I'm gonna just add a couple of these. Now the recipe does not say anything about chopping up your garlic because you actually end up straining the garlic and the onion out of it. Now I'm not gonna do that. I like to actually immersion blend mine into the sauce, but the original recipe does say once it is done cooking for the 30 minutes just to strain out the onions and garlic. But if you're gonna strain it out, obviously don't worry about really chopping too much, but if you wanna immersion blend it, just mince it. It makes it easier to immersion blend. And then we're gonna add half a cup of water. And you know what, guys? I actually need to add more onions because I'm doubling this recipe, and the original recipe only calls for half a cup, so I need to put another half cup in there. Did not flash freeze my onions, and now I have this huge block of frozen onion right here. Okay, and we're good for the garlic. So I need to add half a cup of Worcestershire sauce. And then half a cup of bottled lemon juice, and it does specify bottled. And then a quarter or half a cup of vinegar, but we're gonna use the apple cider vinegar instead of the white vinegar. But if you don't have apple cider, the original recipe does just call for white. 4 tablespoons of brown sugar, 4 tablespoons of soy sauce, or like me, I'm just using liquid aminos to this. And then 2 tablespoons of mustard, and it just says yellow prepared mustard. I'm thinking it would be fun to maybe experiment and maybe use like a Dijon mustard in this. It probably would change the flavor profile a little bit. Okay, so let's get this onto the stovetop. You want to whisk everything together to get it combined. We are going to bring this to a simmer and leave it uncovered for 30 minutes. Just gonna get my ketchup bottle filled up. We're actually going, it's not really camping. We're going to work out of town, and we're bringing the trailer and we're staying in the trailer. So I am just trying to kind of get a lot of stuff prepped for that week that we are gonna be in the trailer, and just want to make sure that I got my ketchup topped up because I love to have ketchup on everything. I'm making a little bit of a mess here. Sprayed it all over my counters here, my cabinets. Perfect, that's all done. Put this in the fridge. This smells so delicious. I love making this stuff. It does really taste really, really good. It's at a simmer now, so I'm just gonna turn the heat down a little bit because I don't want it to be like a full rolling boil. I just want a nice light simmer. And then I'm gonna set the timer for 30 minutes. I remembered one of the other things that I wanted to get done today. All of my lavender is starting to come back up. This is one of my plants here. I have this plant here, I have another little tiny one over there, and then I have one in my front also. I want to preserve this in a really, really fun way, and I am going to attempt to make a lavender sugar with it. And I did double check, and this is an English lavender, so it is considered a culinary one, so you can eat this one. It is safe to eat. Should be saving some of these for the bees because they love this, but I honestly have flowers all over my property, so I am not feeling too bad about harvesting these because I have not harvested any lavender yet this year. And you just kind of want to harvest the open flowers here. I ended up still leaving some lavender for the bees, but I need to get out here and also harvest some of my thyme. This is oregano, and this is my sage plant right here, and that's another thing that I really need to harvest some and get dried. So we got about 20 more minutes on the A1 sauce. I'm gonna take you guys out front because I have another lavender bush out there that I want to pick some lavender from, but I want to show you something else. So those are artichoke flowers. I had planted the artichokes, and because we had such a hot winter, unfortunately my artichokes all bolted. And as soon as they bolted, I got really discouraged, but then those flowers came out and I was just like, I am gonna grow artichokes now just for the flowers. They are so beautiful, and they're actually not like spiky. They're super soft, and it has just been a happy place for bees and hummingbirds and butterflies. So I am gonna do it from now on. I actually have somebody that purchases eggs from us, and he came the other day and he took pictures of them, and he's like, I'm gonna show my wife this, and I'm gonna grow artichokes now just for the flowers because they are really beautiful. I was disappointed I wasn't going to get artichoke hearts, which I am going to try a different variety next year just to see if we can actually get food from it, but I'm going to plant that variety just so that we can get the flowers, and I'm so happy I planted them in the front of my house. So in this bed here, this is just like a hot mess, this bed. It is just herbs gone crazy, zinnias, I think those are marigolds. I have rose bushes in here. Anyways, I had planted some lavender, some oregano, some St. John's wort, and some yarrow back there. All four of those things are very invasive herbs, I guess I'll call it, and they have just totally overtaken this bed. So unfortunately I don't harvest very much out of it because the weeds just get so bad, and then I can't really get in, and we have snakes here, and I'm not trying to go through this, but I'm gonna brave it today. Hopefully there's no snakes in here. A couple little lavenders that I want to pick over here. All of this is all oregano, and I really should actually pick some because I do need to get some dried, but oregano lasts pretty much the whole year here. It stands our winter. This was also mullein that I had planted in here too. Oh, this is the type of lavender right here in this back bush. And then the lavender I actually have at the front of my house is a different variety. I started it from seed, and I cannot find the seed packet anywhere. I normally keep that lavender in the freezer because lavender needs a cold stratification before you can plant it. It pretty much needs to go through like a cold snap in order to get it to germinate. So I like to keep my lavender seeds in the freezer before I plant them. They are super hard to get to germinate. Once they germinate, then it's usually pretty good. I only planted it one time because, as you can see, it comes back every year, and it comes back like it gets bigger and bigger every single year if it's grown in the right conditions. I have a plant that is over in the other side of the storm shelter, and that plant does not do very well because it gets almost all shade. Lavender likes really dry, like sunny locations. It does really good if you're in the desert. From what I've heard, but I can get it to grow on that side of the storm shelter because there's a lot of sun, and then that plant that we were just picking from is in this front window, so it gets full south facing sun pretty much all day. So anyways, that's the type of lavender that I'm using, and when making like a lavender sugar or anything that you're gonna have like a tea, you need to make sure that it's an edible lavender because not all lavender is edible. So please make sure if you're gonna do this recipe, make sure you're making sure that that is a edible and not a toxin lavender. Oh, this house smells delicious. Okay, we have all of our lavender here. It's a pretty good amount. I'm not gonna make a really big batch of it, just a small little batch. This sauce is actually starting to thicken up quite a bit, and we still have 15 minutes left on it. So I'm gonna turn it down even more, just to a low. I don't wanna get too thick because it's a sauce. My timer is gonna go off really soon for this sauce, so I'm just gonna get my immersion blender out. And you don't need to do this step. Again, the recipe does recommend to actually strain it out, but I usually immersion blend it in, and I just find it makes the sauce taste really, really good. Oh no, got my spoon in it. It says it still has 5 more minutes, but I'm gonna stop it because it is really, really thick. That's the consistency that it's at. So I'm gonna pull it off a couple minutes early. Then we'll just do a quick little blast with this. I think I just got some on my face. Get it everywhere. Now, this did not make very much at all. Like, I don't even think this is gonna fill 2 pints. So I'm probably actually gonna do another quick batch of that because I wanna make it worthwhile. If I've got this huge water bath canner going, I don't wanna just put 2 pints in there. I wanna put more than that. So I'm probably just gonna put this aside, put another batch quickly on, get that cooking, and then once that's all cooked, I'll just combine them and then can them together. So I'm just gonna turn this water bath canner down because it's now to a full boil. And I don't want it to do that. So I'm gonna turn it down to low, just keep that at a simmer, and then get a second batch going of the steak sauce. So I just compared the recipe that we're making right now for the A1 sauce, and I compared it to the Arby sauce that we're gonna make. I'm actually not gonna make the Arby sauce today, but I did actually take a video the last time that I made it. So what I'll do is I will put that clip right here for you guys. So if you wanna give it a try, I will show you how I made it. It is very, very similar to this A1 sauce that we're canning up, but it's just, there's a couple little different variations. So I'll include that clip right here, and then you can see how that Arby sauce is made. This Arby sauce comes together super, super quickly. Now, I am not a Arby's lover, but Steven is, and he says that this recipe is pretty authentic to the real thing. So I'm just taking his word for it. So to get started, we're gonna use half a cup of ketchup. I'm just gonna use my homemade ketchup in this. And then we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of an apple cider vinegar. Next up, we are gonna do 4 to 6 tablespoons of water. Now the recipe does state to add enough water to make this sauce a pourable sauce. Then 4 to 5 drops of a hot sauce. I'm using some of my homemade hot sauce, so it is pretty hot, so I went really, really gentle with it, but if you like a lot of heat, then obviously add more hot sauce. Then we're gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon of both onion and garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. The recipe does state that you can use either a maple syrup or honey in this as well. Now, one of the commenters had actually made a comment that they added half a teaspoon of a dried beef bouillon and 1/8 teaspoon of ground cloves, and they said that that made it really, really authentic. So this particular night that I actually filmed making the Arby sauce, I decided to make like a beef and cheddar sandwich with them, like the Arby's, essentially the Arby sandwich, and it turned out delicious. I've left the recipe for that for you guys in the video description if you want to give that one a try. Just finished the second batch of it. It still did not make a lot. This recipe does not make very much at all, so I would almost recommend like timesing it by 6 if you want to get a good big batch. So we're just gonna get our hot jars in here because this sauce is hot. So we want to make sure that our jars and our water bath canner are both hot as well. I think I'm only gonna end up probably 4 pints. Ready? I need to actually double check and see what headspace we need. So we need 1/2 inch headspace. So we 4 times this recipe and we got 3 pints. 3 pints. So definitely does not make a lot. What I'm doing right now is just debubbling them, making sure I get all the bubbles out of them, make sure that the rims are all clean. Then we'll get our lids on and our rings to fingertip tight. we will get them into the water bath canner. Had I known that this made such a small batch, I would have definitely gotten my countertop water bath canner out. It's electric and I wouldn't have wasted all of this water to do this small batch, but here's what it is. We got some in there. So we're gonna get that canned up, and I think it's 10 minutes, but let me double check. No, good thing I checked. It's 15 minutes. So I have the lid on. Once this gets to a full rolling boil, we're gonna start the timer for 15 minutes, and then after that, we'll come back. So our 15 minutes is up. My timer just went off. So I'm gonna take the lid off of this. I'm gonna turn it off completely, and then I'm gonna actually bring it into the other room and take it completely off of the heat for 5 minutes before I take them out. So we're gonna let those rest for 5 minutes, and then we're gonna take them out of the water bath canner and leave them sit for about 24 hours. Now, because I did that second batch when I wasn't on camera, I actually had Steven come and do a little taste test to it and see if he liked it. And he actually says that it wasn't vinegary enough. So the second batch I made, I actually used a white vinegar instead of the apple cider vinegar, and he said it tasted more like a A1 sauce. So if you don't have white vinegar, apple cider definitely would come in. Like, you could use that instead, but I would definitely stick with the white vinegar because Steven, who eats it more than I do, said that with the white vinegar, it tastes a little bit better. He says an A1 sauce really, to him, tastes vinegary. So, and because I made that change, I combined both of the batches together. So it's just a mix of apple cider vinegar and white vinegar, but it tastes good. Like, we both gave it a little taste test and it tasted perfectly fine. So, oh, I need to set my timer for the 5 minutes. And then after the 5 minutes, we're gonna go and take them off, or take them out, I mean. 5 minutes is up, let's get them out. That's what they look like. Delicious. Okay, so we're gonna leave those sit for the 24 hours. I really wanna get that lavender sugar done. So the recipe that I'm gonna use for the lavender sugar, I'm gonna leave it linked for you guys in the video description. It says that you can use either dried lavender or fresh lavender for this. I'm assuming if you use a fresh lavender that you're gonna have to let this kind of dry out on a cookie sheet. I haven't read the full directions in entirety because I just haven't had time. I just knew that it was something I wanted to do, and I just kind of saved the recipe in my favorites. I just took a second and I read it. So it says that if you use fresh lavender in this recipe, then you will have to occasionally come and break up the sugar because it will get a little bit moist. So what I think I'm gonna do is actually just dry this lavender. I already have some pre-dried lavender in my cabinet here. This is just my herbal cabinet where I keep a lot of my herbs for teas and just my medicinal stuff. So let me see where the lavender is. Okay, lavender right here. So because I don't want to have to worry about coming and breaking that sugar up, and I also don't want to have to worry about it turning into like a solid rock because the lavender was fresh. So I'm just going to use this stuff. Yeah, it's still really, really fragrant. Just making sure that there is enough actual flowers on these dried lavenders, because I know when I originally started picking them, I was waiting for the bees to kind of get the flowers, and a lot of them had actually dried up before I picked them. But it does look like there's still a lot of flower left on these, so we'll use these. The recipe also does state to use a little amount of lavender because a lot of people have said that lavender tastes soapy. So you do not want to put a lot in this because you just want it to be like a hint of lavender. The other fun thing that I make with this dried lavender is I make a seasoning, and it is amazing. It is so good on like a chicken. Definitely that's a good use for it, but I'm not gonna be making that today. That's just, I already have some in my pantry. I wanna do this lavender sugar today. So I have my mini little food processor out because we're not going to be doing a big batch of this. I almost just want to make this small little batch because I want to make a batch of sugar cookies with it. I think a lavender sugar cookie would be delicious. I don't have time right now to make the sugar cookies, but I want to just get this part of the process done, making the lavender sugar. Plus, I thought it would be really fun to share it with you guys because if lavender is in season right now, this is a perfect way to preserve it. We are going to use 2 cups of a organic evaporated cane juice. And we'll just put that into our food processor. If you don't have a food processor, the recipe also states that you can use a coffee grinder. That would work really well for this recipe also. Okay, and then it says 1 tablespoon of lavender. It says if you are using fresh, then you can use 3 tablespoons of it. And I'm just taking it off of the stem. I do not want these stems in it. I'm getting very easily distracted right now because we have a fly in the house. It is definitely fly season right now and they just keep getting in the house from the garage. Because we were processing the roosters yesterday, we had the garage door open all day and so many flies got in the garage and I'm just hearing it buzzing by my ear and it's driving me nuts. So I'm gonna get out this thing. This is our newest purchase. It is called a bug assault. And you can kill the flies with salt. It is amazing and it works, but now he's hidden. As soon as I picked this up, that fly disappeared. I don't know where it went. It's probably gonna reappear right by my face. Steven's come in to help me get the fly while I'm working. Oh, there it is. It's right over there. Sorry, it works amazing. It's a quick and easy thing. Instead of me running around this kitchen with a towel trying to get this fly, highly recommend this. We picked it up at Cabela's. So anyways, back to the lavender sugar. It was just buzzing around my face and it was driving me nuts. Okay, so I have about 1 tablespoon of lavender in there. I'm gonna put the lid on and we are just going to pulse this. If you can see all the little speckles. Yeah, definitely a little goes a long way because I just took a sniff of that and it is very, very potent. So you do not want to put a lot in. Like when I was adding it, I thought there's no way that that's going to be enough for 2 cups, but definitely 1 tablespoon is definitely enough. The other really fun thing you can do with it, I know I just mentioned like the seasoning, you can also do this with salt. So do the same thing, put your salt in there. I would do like maybe 1 cup of salt and then add, if you're only doing 1 cup, I would say maybe start with a teaspoon of lavender and see how it is. But lavender salt is also really, really good. That would be good on like, again, chicken or fish. So yeah, that is it for that project. I'm gonna get that put into a mason jar. I'm probably gonna end up putting like a little, I have these little things, I got these on Amazon. You can put them in like your 5-gallon bucket. They are little oxygen absorbers. These are actually not little, these are the huge ones. I don't think I have any of the little ones left. I like to put that in things like this because it helps it from getting all chunky, but because we use the dry lavender, we should be good. So that's it for today's project. I'm now gonna finish getting this chicken done. I just put some more roosters in there and I got this stuff out. So I'm gonna pick all of the meat off the bones and then just kind of keep stockpiling it until I have enough to can it. So I won't do that today with you guys though, but anyways, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a really quick, easy sauce to make. This sauce is like, it's delicious. If you like A1 sauce, you're gonna like this steak sauce. And again, recipe is linked below for you guys in the video description. So thanks again for watching and I hope you have a great day or night whenever you're watching this and I will see you on the next video. Bye guys.